Few years back, I took this gig cleaning an old, Gothic church downtown. Needed the cash, who doesn't? The place was massive, full of shadowy corners and weird architecture that never seemed to make sense. Lisa, the only other night cleaner, always left before sunset. Tonight, she waved goodbye, eyes a bit wider than usual. "Don't forget to double-check the locks," she said, almost pleading. I shrugged it off and started sweeping the main hall. The silence was so thick it felt like I was wading through it. Every swipe of the broom echoed, making the place feel even emptier. My phone buzzed, my brother asking if I'd make it to his game this weekend. I shot back a quick "I'll try" and pocketed the phone. As I moved on to dusting the pews, I felt this icy draft cut through the air. Odd, since all the windows were sealed tight. I brushed it off, humming a little tune to kill the eerie vibe settling in. Around midnight, just as I'm considering a coffee break, I hear it, a faint piano melody drifting from somewhere above. I froze, broom midair. The music was haunting, each note hanging like a question. Who the hell would be playing piano at this hour? I tried to rationalize it, maybe the wind, or an old recording system glitching out. But curiosity gnawed at me. Before I knew it, I was climbing the narrow, creaky stairs to the attic. Each step groaned under my weight, the music growing clearer yet more disjointed. It was like the pianist had too many fingers, hitting keys that shouldn't exist. Reaching the attic door, the music stopped abruptly. Silence crashed down, heavier than before. I pushed the door open. The beam from my flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing the old piano sitting there, dust undisturbed. "Hello? Anyone here?" My voice sounded small, swallowed by the vastness of the space. No reply, just my own echo mocking me. Then, a thud. A heavy, resonant sound from behind a metal door I'd swear wasn't there yesterday. My heart pounded as I approached it. The door was cold, industrial, completely out of place in the old wooden attic. I tried the handle, locked tight. A faint scratching noise started from the other side, like nails on metal. Fear tightened its grip. I backed away, eyes glued to that door. Nearly tripped over a stack of old hymn books, scattering them across the floor. Their pages fluttered open, revealing strange symbols and drawings that definitely weren't standard church fare. I bolted down the stairs, every shadow seeming to reach out. Back in the main hall, I tried to laugh it off. Overactive imagination? Right. The rest of the night was uneventful, but the incident clung to me like a cold sweat. The next day, I caught Lisa before she left. Over a hastily made cup of coffee, I mentioned the weirdness. She gave me this intense look. "You've heard the whispers too, haven't you?" she asked. Chills ran down my spine as she recounted footsteps in empty corridors, voices speaking in tongues, shadows moving independently of their sources. We agreed to stick together during our shifts, hoping two scaredy cats made a brave. That evening, we started our routine side by side. Tried to lighten the mood by sharing life stories. She told me about her new puppy, showed me pictures. For a moment, the church felt almost normal. Just past midnight, the piano music started again. This time, it was aggressive, keys slamming like someone was pounding them with closed fists. We exchanged nervous glances but decided to face it together. Climbing those stairs felt like ascending into another world. The melody twisted and warped, notes bending in ways that shouldn't be possible. At the attic entrance, the music cut off, leaving a void that seemed to swallow sound itself. We stepped inside. Our flashlights swept the room, landing on the piano. The lid was open now, keys exposed like teeth in a sinister grin. Approaching the metal door, we noticed fresh scratch marks gouged deep into the wood around it. They were erratic, desperate. A soft sobbing emanated from behind the door. It was neither male nor female, young nor old, just pure despair given sound. We both gasped, the air thick with a suffocating dread. Lisa reached out and touched the door. The moment her fingers made contact, the sobbing turned into a piercing scream that echoed inside our heads rather than around us. We stumbled back, disoriented. The room began to twist, walls bending as if made of liquid. Shadows stretched and contorted, shapes forming that defied all logic, limbs where there should be none, eyes blinking from the dark. "We need to go, now," I shouted, grabbing Lisa's arm. We raced down the stairs, the distorted sounds of the attic chasing us. Reaching the main hall, we slammed the door shut behind us. The heavy oak door shuddered as something slammed against it from the other side. "What the hell is happening?" Lisa's voice quivered. I had no answers. All I knew was that we had to get out. As we fumbled with the locks on the main door, a low humming filled the air. The hymn books from earlier lay scattered on the floor, pages flipping wildly despite the still air. One book stopped at a page filled with those bizarre symbols. They seemed to glow, pulsating with a sickly light. Words in a language I couldn't comprehend began to form in my mind, invasive and unwelcome. Lisa screamed, snapping me out of whatever trance I was in. She pointed to the walls where shadows of figures writhed, enacting scenes of unspeakable horror, forms consuming each other, morphing into grotesque amalgamations. We burst out into the night, the cool air hitting us like a wave. The church loomed behind us, its windows dark but somehow watching. We didn't stop running until we reached the street, gasping for breath. "What was that?" Lisa managed to say between gulps of air. I shook my head, words failing me. We agreed to meet the next day in daylight to figure this out. That night, sleep was a stranger. My dreams were plagued by visions of endless corridors, doors leading to voids, and that damn piano music twisting into a cacophony of madness. The following day, we dove into researching the church's history. Hidden in public records and forgotten newspapers, we uncovered a chilling past. The church was built over the remains of an older structure, a sanctuary for a cult obsessed with opening doors to other realms. They believed music was the key to bridging our world with the unknown. Their lead composer, a man named Elias Thorne, went mad trying to compose the perfect piece. He sealed himself in a room, could it be that metal door? And was never seen again. Armed with this unsettling knowledge, we returned to the church before sunset, determined to put an end to whatever was happening. We brought tools, a crowbar, some candles, and a sense of resolve fueled by equal parts fear and desperation. The moment we stepped inside, the door slammed shut. The temperature plummeted. Our breath came out in frosty puffs. The piano music started anew, a siren's call laced with malice. "We have to destroy that piano," Lisa said, eyes wide but resolute. We raced up the stairs, the building groaning as if protesting our ascent. The attic was a maelstrom of darkness and shifting shapes. The piano stood at the center, keys moving on their own, each note stabbing into my mind. I swung the crowbar, smashing the keys. The music warped but didn't stop. Lisa joined in, and together we battered the instrument until it was a ruin of splintered wood and twisted strings. For a moment, silence. Then, a deafening roar erupted from behind the metal door. It burst open, a blinding light flooding the room. From within, a figure emerged. No, not a figure, a distortion. It was as if reality was bending around a void shaped like a man. The thing advanced, each step causing the floorboards to rot and crumble. We stumbled back, terror rooting us in place. Just when it seemed we were doomed, the first light of dawn pierced through the attic window, casting a beam onto the entity. It recoiled, emitting a sound that was both a scream and a sigh. In an instant, it collapsed into itself, leaving nothing but the decayed remnants of the room. We didn't wait. We fled the church, never to return. We reported what we could to authorities, but who would believe us? The church was eventually condemned and torn down. A parking lot stands there now, but sometimes, when I pass by, I swear I can hear faint piano notes carried on the wind. I still can't explain what happened. Maybe some doors aren't meant to be opened. All I know is that there are things lurking in the hidden corners of our world, things that listen for the curious and the brave, waiting for a chance to slip through. I keep a piece of the shattered piano keys as a reminder. Not that I need one. The nightmares are enough. I thought leaving that cursed church behind would bring me peace, but the nightmares only intensified. Every night, I'd jolt awake, drenched in sweat, the haunting piano melody still echoing in my ears. Lisa felt it too. We were both being pulled back, like moths to a flame we couldn't see but could definitely feel burning. Determined to get some answers, we met up during our next break. We found ourselves in the church's dusty basement office, a place neither of us even knew existed until then. Old files, brittle with age, were piled haphazardly, the air thick with the scent of mold and forgotten secrets. Rifling through the mess, we uncovered a faded photograph. A man stood beside the very piano from the attic, his eyes hollow yet intense. Scrawled on the back, Daniel Harper, 1922. Chills ran down my spine. So this was him, the source of our torment. The more we read, the darker his story became. After his family perished in a horrific fire, Daniel locked himself away in the church, obsessively composing a final piece that was never found. Some said he went mad, others whispered that he was trying to reach something beyond our world. That night, we arrived at the church earlier than usual, adrenaline coursing through our veins. We brought a small tape recorder, hoping to capture any evidence of the bizarre happenings. The church was unsettlingly quiet, like it was holding its breath. As we started our cleaning, the silence pressed in on us. Around midnight, the piano music started again, more intense, more sorrowful. It was like the instrument itself was weeping. We exchanged a glance and hit record before heading up the stairs. Each step felt like trudging through quicksand. Suddenly, the attic door swung open on its own, a blast of icy air hitting us full force. Inside, the piano keys were moving frantically, playing that chaotic melody without a soul in sight. The metal door at the back creaked, it was slightly open now. Heart pounding, we pushed it wider. The room was small, walls lined with sheet music covered in strange symbols and notes that defied musical logic. On a dusty table lay a journal, pages filled with frantic, spiraling handwriting. Lisa picked it up, her hands shaking. "This is Daniel's diary," she whispered. As we skimmed through, his descent into madness unfolded before us, talks of voices, visions, a gateway he was determined to open. Without warning, the door slammed shut behind us. We were trapped. Panic surged as we pounded on the door, but it wouldn't budge. Our phones were useless, no signal, of course. Whispers filled the room, overlapping voices that seemed to seep from the very walls. They spoke in languages I couldn't recognize, syllables twisting and contorting in ways that made my ears ache. The temperature plummeted, our breaths came out in misty puffs. Lisa grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. The whispers escalated into anguished wails. The walls started to close in, or at least it felt that way. Shadows stretched and morphed into grotesque shapes, elongated limbs, faces without eyes. Desperate, I remembered the tape recorder. Maybe it caught something that could help. I fumbled to hit play. The device crackled, and amidst the distorted piano notes, a voice whispered clearly, "Set me free." We stared at each other, realization dawning. Daniel was trapped, and somehow, we were the key. Frantically, we searched the room. Lisa noticed a loose floorboard. Together, we pried it open, revealing a hidden compartment with a sealed envelope inside. Inside was the missing sheet music of Daniel's final composition. The notes were bizarre, almost alien. It was as if he was writing music for another realm. "This has to be it," Lisa said. "Maybe if we play it, he'll be released." As soon as we made the decision to take it out of the church, the oppressive atmosphere lightened. The door behind us creaked open. We didn't hesitate. Grabbing the sheet music, we bolted out of the room, down the stairs, and into the main hall. We collapsed onto a pew, gasping for breath. "What now?" I asked between gulps of air. "We need someone to play this," Lisa replied. "Someone who can handle whatever this is." The next day, we reached out to Mr. Thompson, a local pianist known for his skill and open mind. Trying not to sound completely insane, we told him we'd found an old, unpublished piece and wanted his professional opinion. Intrigued, he agreed to meet us at the church that evening. As night fell, the three of us gathered around the old piano in the main hall. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Mr. Thompson studied the sheet music, eyebrows knitted in concentration. "This is unlike anything I've ever seen," he murmured. He began to play. The music that flowed was hauntingly beautiful yet deeply unsettling. Each note seemed to vibrate in my very bones. Shadows around us started to flicker and dance, taking on forms that defied explanation. Midway through, the lights flickered wildly. An icy wind whipped through the hall, but Mr. Thompson played on, seemingly in a trance. Then we saw it, a faint silhouette forming next to the piano. Daniel. His features became clearer with each passing note. His eyes met mine, filled not with anger, but with a profound sadness. As the final notes echoed, Daniel's figure smiled faintly before dissolving into a cascade of light that drifted upward and vanished. Silence enveloped us. The air felt different, lighter, cleansed. The distant sound of church bells rang out, though none had tolled in years. Mr. Thompson exhaled sharply, as if snapping out of a dream. "I think he's at peace now," he said quietly. Relief washed over us. Over the next few days, the church was eerily calm. No more phantom piano music, no whispers, no shadows lurking just out of sight. Lisa and I continued our work, almost unable to believe the shift. She hummed cheerful tunes while cleaning, and the place actually felt welcoming. One evening, the priest approached us. "The church feels renewed," he said, smiling warmly. "Thank you for all you do." We just nodded, sharing a silent agreement to keep the night's events between us. Weeks went by. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. One night, as I was locking up, I heard a single, soft piano note. I paused but felt no fear, just a gentle warmth. "Rest easy, Daniel," I whispered, stepping out into the cool night air. Lisa and I remained close, bound by the extraordinary experience. We often reflected on how it changed us, making us appreciate the mundane, wonderful simplicity of everyday life. The church became a place of solace. Visitors commented on its peaceful energy, and we'd exchanged knowing glances but kept the story to ourselves. I finally made it to my brother's game, cheering louder than anyone. Lisa brought her puppy to the park, and we laughed until our sides hurt, the shadows of the past now just distant memories. Those nights will always linger in the back of my mind, a reminder that sometimes, the only way out of darkness is to walk straight through it. And maybe, just maybe, not all hauntings are meant to terrify, some are pleas for help, waiting for someone to listen.